What is up, YouTube? Welcome to my channel. If you are new, I'm Heston. This is my budget G-body. I think we're into this thing for maybe $3,000, including buying the car. Now, if you want to know how I swapped this car so cheap, there is a whole entire playlist if you click on my channel, and it goes through pretty much everything I've used. When I started, this was a 5.3 turbo 350 car, but I got a cracked bell housing right here. So we're now on a 6-liter 4L80, and I've been fighting some transmission issues, some tuning issues, and I think I have a solution for half of our problem right now. There is something funky going on. I accidentally melted a couple wires. I did look at them. Everything looks fine underneath the car, but for some reason, there is a 80-mile-an-hour governor on this car. No matter what PCM I put in it, don't matter. I don't know what's going on. So in the meantime, until I look into it and figure out some more, I went ahead and bought one of these fancy little wiring harnesses off eBay. Now, this one is a Transbrake manual valve body for a 4L80. They also have them for a 4L60. And it pretty much makes your transmission a manual valve body. Whatever gear you put it in is what gear it's in. But enough of me explaining what's going on. Let's get this car on the lift. We'll get in the air. I'm going to plug this in right away, and we'll go over the directions, and I will show you guys how to put this in. I've never put one in, so it's new to me. First things first, we got everything opened out of the package. They send a light and a switch, but there is no button for the Transbrake. I see. Me again. Don't be a dummy like me and drop the transmission plug end from the top, because I'm trying to feed it the other way now, and it's kind of it'd be a lot easier to do it the other way. All right, so I got the bottom plugged in. That was a pain. And like I was saying, if I was to do this again, I would drop the transmission plug down this side. I don't know why I didn't. But I got the loom ran up, and I put it through the engine harness grommet. And then I came into the inside, and I just pulled them through until they were snug. I need to connect them to the transmission yet so they don't rub on nothing. But I believe that puts us into the next step of this, which I'm going to have to go read the instructions. I also have to move my shifter down just a little bit, so I'm going to take it apart, drill a new hole, and move it down just to make sure that I can get all of my gears fully. It actually looks like we are to this stage of the installation. And like I was saying, I now know what's inside of this black box, which makes all of this work. So I may just make a couple of these and give them away at the 1,000 subscriber. Well, guys, we got some rain last night, so I haven't been in the shop yet. Let's see if we kept all the water out. Yeah, oh, there's a couple spots here or there. We'll have to, actually, that's the only one I see. I can live with that. This one up here I made with coolant. And these damn barn swallows, I'm gonna get a BB gun, but I'm afraid I'm gonna put a hole in my tent. What we are working on and finishing up is this dash cover. I got a couple buttons bought, and I got some new holes cut. But I already made the mistake of putting the holes too close once, so this is the second piece. I had to open up the column just a little bit so I could shift it. The temp gauge is plugged into the car so it will quit leaking coolant because this huge puddle is already here. So I screwed it back into the car so it quit leaking. But that should fit here perfectly. I got the button for the Transbrake. I got the switch for the Transbrake, the light indicating that the Transbrake is ready. And this one is the high beam activation button. So with all of these buttons cut into the dash and ready to go, that leaves one more button to put in, and I'm not sure when we're going to get around to it because it's for the nitrous, and I would like to run it at least once without the nitrous, get it dialed in, and then we can go in and start adding some power adders. I feel that is the best way to accomplish one of these swaps. I do have to move a relay around and wire in a couple other things. I got my fuse box cover relabeled with all the new stuff that's in there. I deleted the power seats and all kinds of other stuff in there. So this is my Transbrake harness and controller right here. I have the brown and red wires coming over to my power and the switch. So what you're going to want to do with your red and brown wires from your transmission control harness is run the red one to 12 volt positive. I ran mine to the fuse box, and then I put the LED 12 volt in that also and soldered the wires together. It does not matter which one is what on the LED. When we get to the switch, you will want to take the other wire from your LED light and put it with your brown wire, and then put it on one terminal of the switch. On this other terminal, we will be putting a ground wire. The other wire that will come with the transmission harness is this yellow wire, and this yellow wire comes over and goes to a button. Now, this button I found at Menards for about $4. This button needs to be a momentary on, and that will also get a ground wire on the other terminal than the yellow wire. This white wire that you see in here, that's for my tack, so don't pay no mind to that unless you are on a simplified wire harness. Your tack wire is white, and you can fish that through. This other positive wire is for the tack also, and then I will have to run one ground to the tack. I am currently waiting on the dash piece to dry. I have it painted. I have all the holes drilled for it, and I just need the paint to dry so I can put it back together. And this is buttoned up minus the ground wire as far as I can get it until the dash is here. One more thing we are gonna have to do is cut our connector off the end of our shift light so we can extend these wires. Since our tack is going to be over here, our wires are not long enough for our shift light to be over here. Well, after a bunch of more trimming and getting everything to fit how I liked it, since today's a new day and I liked it yesterday, but I didn't like it this morning, we are running into a problem. I decided I needed this giant freaking 5-inch tack for no reason, and now I'm running into the part of the steering column that isn't a tilt wheel and the top of the dash. Now, I can get it most of the way in there, but then I fight the plastic piece up on top of the dash, which holds this whole pad together. So what I'm gonna do is drop the steering wheel just a little bit so I can get the dash bezel put on it after I get this gauge put in, which is the water temp gauge. And then I had to order a new switch for here, so I will have to go through all of this over one more time. And hopefully today is the day of reckoning. I have not fixed the shifter yet, but I'm not going to put that on camera. It's pretty easy. Take it out, mark a new hole, drill it, put it back in, make sure it's got first gear. We got all kinds of fancy colors in there. I need to remove this one more time. Apparently it is not set on 4-cylinder mode for the tack, so it is not currently working with the LS platform. You can put diodes in them, but I like to get the 4-cylinder selectable to get around that. I also went ahead and ripped the shifter apart, and this is going to be an absolute nightmare to put back together, and it's gonna suck. But with a little bit of patience, we should be able to get it back together. It's gonna freaking suck. But I gotta drill a hole in this. Probably gonna move it, probably gonna move it a half inch, a full half inch to start with, and then we'll go more from there if we need to. I think I got it mostly back together. I don't have the washers in it for the spacing or nothing, but I just need to make sure that it's gonna work, and it feels like all the gears are there. They're really close together, but with a longer stick on it like this one, it should be a little more easier to pronounce it. It might not. But I think it's going to be all right by the time we get our lockouts put in it for whatever gear we're going to end up locking out. But I want to try it while we're sitting here, so this is the first drive-ish of this. It does a burnout. The shifter is not perfect by no means. It's gonna need some fine tuning, and one way around that is to get an actual shifter rod. It's pretty much a aluminum rod with 2 Heim joints on the end, so it's adjustable. But this is gonna work for now. It does a burnout decently. So I think once the tune situation's figured out, we'll be good. And I believe that it's in the fueling system now. I thought I had the injectors for this PCM. It turns out I don't. And I no longer have a set of matching injectors with PCMs that are unlocked. So I need to update injectors, which I need to dive into Goat Rope Garage and learn how to do. Or I need to go over to my buddy Cole's car and take my flex fuel injectors out with my 5.3 computer, because when that was in this car, this thing freaking ripped all the way up to 80 mile an hour, and then it did the weird little cutout thing. But I think we're over that. I think we're over that for good now. I'm not real sure till we actually get to drive it, but I gotta button up a few more things and then we can go. The harness is still just kind of hanging on the transmission. I gotta P-clip it into place. All right. Before I wrap it up, I gotta find out if this Transbrake button does anything. I don't know what happened. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up the video here, but we went ahead and threw some P-clamps on here, or little rubber isolated clip. I forget what they're actually called, but I made sure that the box was not gonna hit anymore when it went into first gear. It was rubbing a little bit, but now that it's secure, it is tucked back against the transmission. It's not going anywhere, and we have a full range of our shifter again. This transmission plug in the actual harness, I'm going to wrap up and we will zip tie up out of the way just in case we decide to use it again. But at this point in time, I am not going to use it. My next thing is figuring out why it dies every time I hit that button, or when I go to give it gas while I'm on that button, it shuts down. But that's a wrap for today. We are gonna try to make the racetrack with this car this weekend, so I gotta figure it out rather fast.